2019 business meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request everyone in the audience to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Board Member Bolton will not be with us this evening. She is representing CPS in Washington, D.C., attending the National School Board Association's Advocacy Institute and Equity Symposium. And Member Copeland Dansby also will not be with us tonight. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates? Present. Ms. Bolton?
Yeah, probably not.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby? Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Messer?
Present.
Mr. Morosky?
Present.
President Jones?
Here. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special public meeting, January 7th, 2019, special public meeting, January 7th, 2019, organizational meeting, January 7th, 2019, and the regular board meeting, January 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Bates, in the absence of Finance Committee Chair Bolton, please present the January 7th committee meeting report.
I present the meeting report as printed.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions or comments about the report? Thank you. Mr. Davis, as Chair of the Policy Committee, please present the January 7th Policy Committee meeting report.
The only thing I'd like to point out is that policy changed its meeting time to 11 a.m. on the third Thursday of each month. We are now meeting at 11 a.m. The rest of the report I present as written.
Thank you. Do board members have questions or comments? Again, repeat the week. What week of the month?
Every third Thursday at 11 a.m.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Morosky, in the absence of Committee Chair Bolton, please present the January 7th Student Achievement Report.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Jones. The January 7th meeting of the Student Achievement Committee, we elected our chair, Chairwoman Bolton, and we also elected to meet on the third Thursday of every month from 1:30 to 3:30 in this Ed Center.
Okay, do board members have any questions or comments? Thank you. Mr. Davis, would you present the January 17th Policy Committee meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The January 17th Policy Committee, we began reviewing the Policy Committee work plan, which will be, the Policy Committee work plan will be approved through these minutes. At the committee, we agreed to continue to work through the Series 2000s, the program policies that we looked through. We also reviewed policies about local vendor and minority and women business, minority and women-owned businesses, and asked Mr. Hoyne to come back to the committee with further information. Tonight we'll be presenting several resolutions in regards to actions taken for both the 2000 series and in the review of the local vendor and minority women businesses. And then we also looked at an update of rental athletic facilities and policies concerning Walnut Hills Swimming Pool, and continued our review of policies in the 5000 series. The rest of the minutes are presented as written.
Thank you. Do board members have questions or comments about the report? Okay, I need a motion to approve the committee reports.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Superintendent Mitchell, would you please introduce our presentations for the evening?
Gladly.
So our first presentation is the recognition of our school board members. Each January, we have the opportunity to take time to recognize School Board Appreciation Month and honor our hardworking school board members for their leadership and their service. This year, we've invited Rothenberg Preparatory Academy and Westwood School to make a brief presentation of appreciation to our board members and to share some of the ongoing activities of their Student Enterprise Program. Principal Amber Simpson and Principal Christopher Grant are here today with some of their students in this presentation.
Good evening. It is my esteemed pleasure to be here to honor our board members for your hard work and all of your support and dedication to our schools. As neighborhood schools, we recognize that the Vision 2020 programming selected for our schools really helps us to give our students an opportunity to learn beyond what they may think or what they may believe within themselves, but we give them an opportunity to get hands-on opportunities and experiences to be entrepreneurs and to be creative thinkers. So we are so grateful to each and every one of you for supporting the Vision 2020 initiative. As a 1.0 school, we are now in our third year and we are really excelling and our students are doing excellent work. So thank you.
I agree with Ms. Simpson. Thank you so much for your continued support. Just remember that one of the ultimate goals of our Vision 2020 Enterprise Initiative is that our students graduate being financially literate so that they understand the value of money and the relationship between earning money, spending money, saving money, and investing money. So this has been a great process, and we thank you for your continued support, and hopefully you will see more and better things coming out of our schools. This has been great for our academic success and our social emotional well-being. So thank you again, board members, and we truly appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, excuse me. Oh, do board members have a comment before they move on to the next phase of this? Any comments for our speakers, Mr. Morosky?
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for helping put together that great video. And then a couple of specific things. So Ms. Simpson, as you know, at least once a week I hear you talk about empathy over the announcements. And it's bled over into my daily life with my family. We've taken on the empathy piece, and every now and then my wife will call me out or I'll call her out. Usually it's her calling me out. Like, we're not being empathetic right now. Ms. Simpson, what would she think? It's been really great getting to know the Rothenberg family better, so thank you for your leadership there. And then as far as Westwood is concerned, I think I've shared this with you, but I want to say it publicly for everybody. Also, my wife, Katie, has taken the giggly greetings that come out of Westwood Elementary School's Vision 2020 Enterprise Program and really run with them. And so a lot of giggly greetings are sent around from Katie Morosky. So thanks for everything y'all do in your buildings every day. It really makes an impact on our kids. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? Thank you so much, and we appreciate your presentation.
We do have gifts for you as well as certificates.
Oh, I love it, thank you.
Do they sell them? How much they cost?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
These people got money, make them pay.
You, great.
Thank you, very kind.
So awesome.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, love it.
Okay, we have some certificates. So first up would be President Carolyn Jones.
That's cute.
And then Vice President Ryan Messer.
Nice.
Board Member Mike Morosky. Board Member Ozzie Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse my seat.
And Board Member Melanie Bates.
Thanks.
We do have certificates and gifts for our other two board members who aren't here, Eve Bolton as well as Erica Copeland Dansby. So for those of you who cannot see the certificates, they are beautiful. It says All-Star Team, Board of Education Recognition Month. Again, if we could just applause for our board members who give so much of their time and effort to our kids on behalf of our kids each and every day. Thank you.
Just a brief comment on behalf of the board, including those who are not here with us this evening. You know, it's nice to be acknowledged for the work you do, but I want to say that everybody sitting here does this because this is what we want to do. Nobody's forcing us. We have a passion for the work that we do. We give our time freely. We love the gifts and appreciate it, and it's interesting because I put all the gifts I receive from the students in my office at home, so when people come over, everybody's asking, where are you getting all these little gadgets and things? And I said, our kids are wonderful learners and givers, and I want to display what our students do. So we're very proud of our students, and we thank our principals for being great leaders and role models for them. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Moving on.
Okay, so our next presentation is going to be presented by the Information Technology Department. Megan Safko Preslin will be here along with a teacher from Dater High School, as well as some fine Dater gentlemen, and we're going to talk about Schoology.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
am Megan Safko Preslin. I am one of the tech trainers within the IT department, and I train teachers on supporting them to get using technology and implementing that into the classroom. I'm joined with Mike Cabral. He's over at Dater High School, as well as 3 of his students, and they're going to be talking here shortly about things. But we wanted to give you a brief Schoology update, and that Schoology update is a learning management system. That's what Schoology is, and that is something that delivers and collects student work. It promotes communication between teacher and parents, between teachers and students, integrates with other technology tools that are within our district, including like Google. We also have WeVideo, and then it also creates a personalized learning environment. And that's kind of what we're here for with Mike and his students. Mike will show you or tell you how it is used in his classroom specifically and within other classrooms.
Hello. So every day I use Schoology to instruct my students. Pretty much every day we have like a do now or a warm up, and a lot of times we finish with an exit ticket. It's all on Schoology. Assessments, formative, summative on Schoology. Notes, assignments, materials, multimedia, it's all on Schoology. I couldn't really, survive on a day-to-day basis unless I had Schoology. There's a lot of different unique aspects of Schoology that really help us reach our kids, teach our kids. You can set up self-guided folders. You can set up credit recovery on Schoology, where if a kid ends up not passing a semester, you can create a folder where kids can kind of go through the folder with, as much or as little help as you can give them, kind of recovering that credit, doing the work. You can connect it to other apps, as Megan said, Google Docs, WeVideo, DBQ Online. We can do a lot of really intense learning on there. You can also differentiate very easily. You can set up grading groups. You can set up different weights in those groups so you can, individualize your learning to the kids. You can also publish different assignments to different groups of students, and look at reading levels and stuff like that, and really focus your kids, focus where you need them to learn. You can also grant access to multiple teachers, so intervention specialists have an easy access getting in to Schoology and accessing it and teaching kids as well. There's also a new assessment feature on Schoology. It goes along with the EOC AIR test, where it looks really similar to it, where you have one question per page, and a lot of the questions require kids to drag and drop text, drag and drop items, label diagrams, do a lot of the same type of skills they would see on those tests. So it's a really nice feature that I haven't really seen in other tools. It's nice to get the kids practicing with that and ready for those important tests. The gentlemen I have here, I have DeMarco, Jackson, and Taekwon. We started a program this year at Dater where we're going around the building, and not every teacher is as comfortable with Schoology as I am. And I hear from kids sometimes that they wish teachers could use Schoology like I do. So what we're starting to do is I'm starting to train a group of Schoology helpers in the building that can go around and help teachers get started, help them feel more comfortable with using Schoology. Not only does it help the teachers, but also helps them kind of take ownership of their learning and take learning into their hands and kind of get that experience of working in IT, working with technology, which is where a lot of the careers will be in the future. So yeah, that's kind of.
We'll bring them up here shortly, if you guys have questions for them. Was working. Here it is. So a lot of questions that we get is the Power School versus Schoology. And Power School is really our grade book of record. It's the state reporting, it's getting that information to the state, it's the daily attendance. Schoology is, again, where it gets delivered, where the students are doing their schoolwork, where communication is happening between students, parents, teachers. Students' grades are transferred through to Power School, so if Mike is doing an assignment in Schoology, he can then put that grade right in Schoology and it will transfer directly to Power School. One less thing for the teachers to do. Also, parents can see their students' work. In Power School, it's just seeing their grade or a comment or something like that. In Schoology, parents will be able to see the students' work that is being done. The other professional development within that we are giving to our teachers, besides these lovely Schoology ambassadors, we do Schoology trainings with staff meetings, one-on-one personalized training for teachers that request it. Over Mayerson courses, we have webinars. We also have an innovative practices conference in the summer that teachers come and willingly during their summer and attend. We also have videos and text user guides, new teacher practicums, we're over there as well, and including professional development days. We also have an online course that is a self-guided for teachers to kind of do at their own time. And then we also have district-wide curriculum delivery. The district has, the digital citizenship course that is delivered through Schoology for all of our students through Advisory. Advisory is also done through Schoology, so each teacher then downloads that template, and then they have all their lessons right within Schoology. Many of our curriculum departments are using it, ELA, social studies, science, and then math as well as the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. And so a lot of those resources are stored there, so then that way teachers do have easy access for it. The other thing, this is our third year of implementation of Schoology. It will work. So this is year 3, and you will see the blue is all the faculty, and then the red is the students, and then the parents. So those are all the logins that have occurred, and you can see the increase that has happened throughout the 3 years that we have had it. Parents have again seen a little increase in there as well. And then we also have, like Mike said, there are different student activities that we can do. And then this is some of the student activities. We have assignment submissions, which are, again, assignments that are collected from students. We have tests and quizzes submissions, and then we also have discussion submissions. There's a new tool called an assessment tool, and that's the one where Mike was talking about how there's drag and drop. And that we don't have any data for that one at the moment because it is so brand new, but we definitely see an increase each year on all of the little items. Teachers are also noticing that there are other things besides the assignments, and I think that's where we're seeing a little jump in the various test quizzes and then discussions just to kind of get a more rapid usage of Schoology, not just assignments being collected. So that is all. I know if you guys want to talk about your experience with Schoology, maybe your ambassador program.
Yeah, like Schoology is like very easy to use and how we do it. Like when we teach teachers, we help them get more comfortable with it and stuff that we do like around the school and like teachers that just need help, period. I like the mobile app a lot too because sometimes I don't have my laptop on hand. I can use that to do my work and sometimes turn in work and just easy to communicate with my teachers and stuff like that.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Any questions? Mr. Messer?
I could have used you at the beginning of the school year when I was trying to figure this all out, so thank you for being here tonight and knowing the difference between the two. And they're different logins, right?
Yes.
And so one question is just for people, maybe parents who might be a little less technologically savvy than the five of you, if there was almost like an entry point, like my kid's data stuff or my kid's school stuff, and then you went in and you didn't have to go to the different ones, because I think the one, like I lost the one password, and then anyway, but so if there's a way, because I think the call out is the parents' number hasn't increased nearly as much as the student. Of course, students are going to use it more, but you know, just as a user, I got the form at the beginning of the school year, and then I really haven't had much of an interaction to be like, oh, I should go in there and check it, or here's some tricks and tips on how to do that. So for what it's worth, we may need some additional training to help get the parent number, because
Okay.
you know, I think it is a great technology solution to solving the problem that when many of us went to school, you know, it was a live and in-person meeting all the time, and the data that you're able to provide real time is pretty incredible. So thank you for that. And I am very impressed with the young men, and how great to have you all as super users to teach your teachers, and what a great resource you are to our district as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bates, followed by Mr. Davis.
My comments were kind of along the same lines as Mr. Messer's, and that is because of the low percentage of parent participation. And, you know, I kind of remember I really remember when my kids were in college, they would never allow me into their accounts, except when it came time to pay tuition, then they, you know, logged in for me. But anyway, training for parents, I think, is critical. But getting parents in one place to do it is very, very difficult. And you have super users for the students at school. I mean, if there's some demonstration that, you know, there's some instruction for parents by some of the students, I mean, that would be great opportunities for extra credit and ways for students to interact with their parents, and, you know, and just to learn more about the system so that they can get on, because once you're in and once you understand it, then, you know, it's pretty easy to get in and out.
And many of the principals have requested some training, and so we have gone out to various school board school meetings and attended and have completed a staff parent training. And so that's helped, but again, we're still kind of increasing that as we continue to grow it.
And also, what age are students schooled on?
It is K through 12, so.
Kindergartners can get in?
Mm-hmm. We say that, but their little hands are, they do have like a new little icon that we are experiencing with a QR code. So we're slowly getting there.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you all for your presentation. I'm interested in the mobile app and how we are really communicating that to parents. how do we do that now?
And
What's our
again,
process?
yeah, that's through that first letter that they get. There is that mobile app, and through those through those parent meetings that we attend, we do show them how to log in using that mobile app. But we'll definitely increase that as we move forward with this, and maybe try to get it in January, and once things have settled down outside of September.
Is that on our website? The Schoology mobile app? Lauren, she stepped out. I haven't seen that.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Ms.
We can
Worley,
find out.
is the Schoology mobile app on our website, on the district website? There's so much good stuff on that website. I hadn't seen it.
With the emphasis on so much, sorry, I was talking with one of our esteemed principals.
No
Sorry, I
problem.
stepped out. But yes, it's on under student tools, but we're getting ready to revamp that area so that students can access both PowerSchool and Schoology more readily, as well as some of the social emotional learning app work that ITM's working on.
And how would parents access it? Through the same student tool?
Through the same, right now it's under students and families.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Any other questions? Yeah, I would just ditto what my colleague said about use by families. I too struggle technology-wise, and I think the more we can do to help the parents learn more about how to use it, I think the better we'll be. So thank you so much for your presentation.
Great job, you all.
Great job. Keep up the good work. Yes, thank you. Okay, does anyone have any kudos? Mr. Messer.
Yes, I would like to give a few kudos tonight. First to the amazing music teacher Lee Black, who happens to be here tonight. He had a plethora of students who qualified for honors band, and we're going to work to see if we can't get them to perform for us at some point. But I want to thank him publicly for his leadership, because as the honors band teacher slash coach slash supporter slash transporter, his work doesn't end at the end of the school day, and it doesn't end on Friday. He spent many nights and weekends working on behalf of our students, and we want to say thank you to him, and thank you to all the students who qualified for honors band. And also to SCPA for their Future of the Arts Gala on Friday night, which it was an incredible night to raise funds from a very widespread footprint in our greater Cincinnati community to help support the arts at Cincinnati Public Schools. And Board Member Bates and I, along with Superintendent Mitchell, were there, and you got to see our vocal students singing right next to a professional opera performer. You saw our dance students performing next to professional dancers. You saw our musicians play better than the professional musicians. It was really unbelievable, and you couldn't tell which was which. And the joy out of these young people from every corner of our city, so proud and almost like, why are they clapping so much? You could just read their face. Just an amazing, amazing night of seeing really the best of our students celebrated there at SCPA. So congrats to Nick Nisley and his team who coordinated that with Teresa Sumi-Haas. I wanted to give a kudos to Rothenberg, and our principal unfortunately left, but I was sent a message by somebody that I grew up with, and she said, Ryan, I had a chance to ref an elementary boys basketball game at one of the schools I think that you're involved with. I think it was in your old neighborhood over the Rhine. It was a great school with exciting fans, but the important thing is this school showed what respect and sportsmanship was like. They even had the boys sit at halftime to watch the girls' dance team perform. They were incredible students, and we were blown away. And I thought that was a really great testament to somebody who really had no no prior experience with Cincinnati Public Schools, but through a reffing experience, really had great things to say about our students and what that school has done. And so, last but not least, I just want to congratulate our president, Carolyn Jones, who has just retired after, how many?
50 years of employment, 28 at this.
50 years of employment. Now, they have child labor laws for that, Carolyn. So that wouldn't have been allowed today, because she's surely not much older than that. But 50 years of employment, and has done a great amount of work in mental health. And I don't think you could fit all the people that she's helped in this zip code. So thank you, Carolyn, and congratulations. And may you enjoy retirement, and yes, get to spend as much more time as you want on Cincinnati Public School business. Thank you.
Mr. Morosky?
Thank you, President Jones, and congratulations on your retirement. So I have a few kudos as well. I want to start by giving kudos to all of the schools and teachers and administrators and parents and children, as tomorrow marks the 100th day of this school year, and I know some of the buildings have some special events planned, including Rothenburg, actually, for their 100th day of school. So kudos on reaching the 100th day of school this year. Another kudo to Lauren Worley, who's our Director of Community Engagement. I met with her team this morning, and this kudos really for her entire team. They really manage the outward-facing presence of Cincinnati Public. If you haven't already noticed some changes on the website, you'll notice even more soon, and other ways that we engage with all our stakeholders. So it was interesting and informative to meet with you all this morning. So fresh on my mind, I want to give a kudos for that. And then lastly, and I'm going to talk more about this later, so I won't say much now, but I would like to give a kudos to a vast majority of the folks who are at this meeting tonight, because you've shown that when the community works with a governing body, it's something as large as a public school district, we can make transformative change in lots of people's lives. So kudos to all of you for helping us to get to this point tonight.
Hey, any other kudos? Thank you. Ms. Bates, please present the retirements.
Yes, I have two retirements, two retirees, employees of ours that are retiring that I would like to announce. One is, they're both from our civil service personnel. Carol L. Caldwell and Bernice Walker have announced their retirements and have applied for them. So we thank them for their service to our children and congratulate them on the next steps in their life story.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Okay, we are now at the item on our agenda for hearing the public. Each speaker has about 3 minutes, and I'm going to explain that to you in a second. About 3 minutes to speak, and Ms. Wagner will be our timekeeper. When the buzzer goes off, your 3 minutes are up. Please refrain from discussing any personnel items. When your name is called, please come to the podium to speak, and I will be calling them in groups of threes. Now, tonight is a little unique because we have like 19 or 20 or 21 speakers on one subject, and it's generally the board's protocol to allow 30 minutes per subject. So I'm going to ask those people who are speaking on the good food purchasing to just be considerate and try, if you can, to keep it about 2 minutes. 2 minutes per person still is, ample time and still takes us over our limit, but I do want everybody to have an opportunity to speak. So thank you so much for understanding. We'll start with Michelle Dillingham, Yolanda Graff Wright, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Wright, and Latasha Thaxton.
Good afternoon. I'm actually here on the topic of preschool promise, but since I'm up here, I'm just going to go ahead and give my 3 minutes, if that's okay. Of course, I support the Good Food Program here tonight. I speak on behalf of the Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition to address you on issues of the preschool promise. The Preschool Promise emerged as an initiative to raise public taxpayer money to pay for quality preschool education for the poorest of our city's children. The need for this was clear, the recognition that this is one of the best ways to get children prepared and close the achievement gap created by family poverty. On this, we all agree. The problem with the Preschool Promise is that it is a privatization initiative driven by the CBC, a small group of Cincinnati corporate elites. Like pirates, they came into the CPS levy with a subversive message of work with us or we won't support the levy. But if you insert Preschool Promise the way we want it, we will not only support you, but we will help fund the levy campaign and make sure it wins, which they did, and it did. As soon as it passed, there were immediate problems we typically get with privatization: a reluctance to practice open meeting practices, a resistance to initiating and supporting the Workforce Development Council, a stubborn clinging to the Denver model, which was proven to worsen equity in preschool access in Colorado, not help it, just to name a few. There are several issues around equity that my 3 minutes cannot cover, but in summary, I have met and listened to community-based providers, and they tell us they are paying out of their own pocket for copies of lessons plans for their children. They are paying out of their own pocket for supplies. Meanwhile, the Preschool Promise Board sits on millions of unallocated quality improvement grant funds, funds that were meant to help these providers step up to quality. We are 2 years in, and only now are we seeing the first pilot program on wages. And yet all providers are eligible. Why not the least paid get first dibs on the subsidy? Yet all providers are eligible. This does nothing to address equity. Again, while Preschool Promise reserves are in the millions. Most frustrating to me is this narrative emerging that the living wage was interpreted only for lead teachers, which ended up showing up in the MOU with United Way. The ballot language made no exceptions for fair wages. This interpretation is unacceptable, and this excuse will not be received well by voters. You, the CPS Board of Ed, the buck stops with you. There is no clear commitment by this board to participate in the Workforce Development Council that you formed as an oversight to the key goals of this initiative. I'm talking quality. You can't have quality in early childhood ed unless you have teacher credentialing, teacher level of ed, and teacher pay. This lack of intentional engagement needs to end. Recommendations to equity may fall on deaf ears of a board run by the CBC, but it must not die on your watch. This program is too big to fail. We cannot fail the children of our city. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am an educator at the Water Lily Learning Center down on Mansfield Street. Can you guys hear me okay? No? I am an educator. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
This is my very first board meeting here at CPS, so I'm happy to be here this evening. I have been in the classroom educating young children for 20-plus years, and so I can attest to everything that was previously stated. I am that example. I am that person. So I want to speak to the wage quality. It's important. It gives an educator like myself a sense of being part of that puzzle, a sense of the beginning for that young child to be able to get the best experience possible in a quality-run center. And along with CPS and Preschool Promise, we are hoping that it is being looked at as so. So I would just like to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Thaxton? Is that you? Okay.
Hello, my name is Latasha Thaxton, and I'm a CPS parent whose child go to Gamble Montessori, and I'm a UFCW Local 75 member. I just want to state that I'm in favor of CPS providing healthier meals. Also, I want to say that I'm in support of you purchasing from companies that provide good wages and work conditions for their workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michaela Atfield, Harriet Matthey, Suzanne McMillan. Yes, yes.
Hello, my name is Michaela Oldfield. I am the director of the Greater Cincinnati Regional Food Policy Council. We are a cross-sector coalition of the 10-county region, government, business, and nonprofit leaders working to create a healthy, equitable, sustainable food system. We are also a member of the Good Food Purchasing Coalition for Cincinnati. We support the Good Food Purchasing Program because through the 5 value categories that it implements, it's going to seek to shift our food systems by changing the demand side of the equation. And I wanted to share a little bit with you about some of the work we've been doing to also try to change the supply side to make it easier for Ms. Shelley to institute the GFPP, which has included things like applying collectively for a farm-to-school planning grant, helping support the emergence of a local food hub, which aggregates food from local producers for sale to large institutions. And we are exploring how to expand financing tools for local foods. And this work is supported in turn by the school food board, adopting the GFPP, because that guaranteed commitment through a policy adoption makes it easier for the supply side work to depend on the predictability of the GFPP. I also want to add that I am a member of the Parents for Early Childhood Education, which is part of the coalition that's been here speaking to you regarding the wage implementation for Preschool Promise. And I'm a member of that coalition because I care about Preschool Promise, because I see it as a program that's going to have a really meaningful impact on the quality of education that other children are receiving in advance of when they arrive at kindergarten with my son. And I want to make sure that all students are showing up at kindergarten prepared to start learning together. And this coalition is parents, business owners, and teachers working together to identify what are the issues for implementing Preschool Promise equitably, and this fair wage issue has been the top priority because it is really key to ensuring that children are receiving high quality education. So please take people's words seriously when they talk to you about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Harriet Matthey, and I founded Soup Cycle Cincy 6 years ago, I think, in Avondale, to try to get healthy vegetables and produce into the Avondale community, but more importantly, into the stomachs of the children there, and try to figure out strategies for that to happen. We've been really blessed being able to use 2 incredible churches, Pastor Mingo's, and now for 2 years we've been up at Pastor Lynch's church with commercial kitchens where we take donated produce from Jungle Gyms and from Castellini's, make really dense, thick, pretty delicious soups that I've been chastised for not bringing tonight, but sorry. And we deliver them within 3 or 4 days of having made them, heated up again to kids in the various rec centers and after-school programs. We did weekly Price Hill Rec, Hirsch Rec, Evanston Academy, Evanston Rec, Parker Woods, and so on. In other words, any school or director at a rec center that will let us come in and augment the children's snack that they're getting after school. And I just want to report that as interesting as these snacks are, they're still basically what they're getting for lunch, you know, and I'm not knocking it, but the kids are extraordinarily excited to be given fresh food, especially especially the stuff that we get donated by local growers that is organic, that tastes quite a bit different, and it's like they're looking in a window of the sophisticated world that they haven't known, okay? And young children learn a language very quickly, and young children can learn what really good food is very quickly too, and it can be vegetables and it can be fruit, but it has to be prepared, I say recently. And I think that this good food policy program, which if I'm not mistaken, is all over California right now and several other states, there's no reason not to do it here. We'd be way ahead of the curve if we're going to try to do anything cool in Cincinnati. It makes a big difference what these kids eat. I mean, they'll have their little bowl of canned fruit salad they're pretty much not opening and not too interested in. We'll hand them a shish kebab of nothing but pineapple, and they go nuts over it, and they need it, and they need the vitamins, and they need the fresh stuff, and if there's a way to get it to them, I think it's worth jiggering things around a little bit, doing things differently, at least trying to do things differently. Parker Woods Montessori, public Montessori, I'm like, whoa, what happened here? All these kids are different, this staff is happy, everything's flowing beautifully. Yesterday, I ran into a local apple grower who said, yeah, I got to deal with them. They take hundreds of pounds of our produce and they're giving it to the kids, they're giving them cider. It just shows that you care. And the kids, believe it or not, they very much know the difference between institutional food and something that grandma would really like them to have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'll try to keep this to 2 minutes. My name's Suzanne McMillan. I'm with the ASPCA, and American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. I serve as our Farm Animal Welfare Content Director. The ASPCA is the first animal welfare organization in North America and serves as the nation's leading voice for animals. We enjoy the support of millions of people nationwide, including over 15,000 supporters right here in Cincinnati. The ASPCA works with GFPP campaigns around the country. I have personally been involved with this Cincinnati effort for several years now. So it's great to be here tonight in person to speak in support of this effort, and particularly its promise for animals. The ASPCA has prioritized the GFPP, given its significant potential to improve animals' lives. The GFPP offers a practical alternative to many of the welfare problems plaguing animals in today's factory farming model, where animals are forced to endure highly intensive rearing, often packed in by the tens of thousands or immobilized in cages or crates. Nearly all farm animals currently raised for meat, milk, and eggs live in these conditions, sometimes for years, where they're deprived of the opportunity for even the most basic natural behaviors. There's also little to no welfare oversight on most farms. There's no scheme in place guaranteeing on-site inspections or auditing, which the GFPP aims to add back into the system. While the factory farming model currently dominates American food production, the public is increasingly rejecting it in favor of practical alternatives, which are gaining ground. Consumers across the country are demonstrating a desire to support better practices. Public institutions, including schools, are wonderfully positioned to take up this call, serving as crucial partners in building a new and more humane food system. We respectfully urge this board to bring the GFPP to Cincinnati public schools. In doing so, you would be setting a critical bar for the humane treatment of all stakeholders in the food system, including animals, but also students, farmers, and other food chain workers, as well as local communities and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next three speakers, Dr. James Lynn, Hannah Halbert, and Rachel Keithley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dr. James Lenny. I'm here in support of the Good Food Purchasing Program. I practiced gastroenterology for 35 years until this last July, and now I spend my time raising 100% grass-fed beef on my farm in Hillsboro, Ohio. I just wanted to emphasize the tremendous importance of good nutrition as it pertains to health. In the United States, we now spend $3.2 trillion a year on health care. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the vast majority of this is for diet-related diseases. In order for us to do something about this, we need to provide nutritious food to our children, but also teach them the importance of eating a healthy diet. I think if we can cut down on the cost of health care, maybe we can spend some of those dollars building better schools and not new hospitals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I'm Hannah Halbert. I'm Project Director for Policy Matters Ohio, and I research and write about work and wages. I did submit written comments along with my witness slip. I can make that electronically available to all the folks on council. Policy Matters, if you've not heard of us, we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan research institution here in Ohio, and we look for policies that will make Ohio more equitable, more sustainable, more vibrant, and really have the kind of economy that works for all of us, not just those folks that already have, right? And the good food procurement policy that's before you today, we really see that as one of those policies. By adopting this policy, the district will direct more of the millions that you spend on food back into the Cincinnati regional economy, creating good jobs that stay here in the community, jobs that prioritize employer practices that provide workers dignity at work. You promote sustainable and humane farming practices, and ultimately you put fresh, healthy, and delicious food on cafeteria tables for kids to enjoy. When big institutions do this and commit to this kind of values-based purchasing practices, suppliers have good reasons to adopt higher road values too. When we strengthen that supply chain, and the more we strengthen the supply chain, the more we will drive those costs down, ultimately making it easier for more and more institutions to get on board so the benefits that you're creating with this policy can continue to grow. Now, Ohioans, I work mostly in state policy, and Ohioans generally don't like things that haven't been tried before and proven to work, and the policy before you has done it. They've already passed tests in lots of really big districts. LA County has added 150 well-paying food chain jobs as a direct result of their program. 160 truck drivers, along with the district's food supply chain as a whole, have seen higher wages and improved working conditions. School lunches contain less sodium, less high fructose corn syrup, less red meat, and the district's saving nearly 20 million gallons of water each week. So big changes are possible from this policy that you're looking at today. Cincinnati is leading the way on innovative worker protections. In 2016, the city adopted a minimum wage theft ordinance. That's the first of its kind in Ohio to ensure that workers are paid for all of the hours that they work. Now the Cincinnati Public Schools have an opportunity to be a real leader in high road purchasing practices by adopting the good food purchasing policy that's before you tonight. It's a model for school districts across the state. It should be a model for state purchasing and for all kinds of anchor institutions in our state. So I thank you for considering it, and thank you to all of the advocates who brought this policy forward thus far. It really is an innovative model.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Keithley, and I'm a Young Public Interest Fellow, and I work on an initiative that aims to do the best and the greatest good in the minimum amount of time. And what better first project for our initiative to work on than the Good Food Purchasing Project? A project that brings good food, nutritious food, sustainable food to our children. And I just really want to see this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Brennan Grayson, Michael Young, Marley Mansala.
Hello,
Hello.
President Jones and Directors Bates, Davis, Messer. Mr. Morowski was somewhere here, Superintendent Mitchell.
He stepped to the restroom.
Okay. Well then, real quick, just want to thank you all. We said we'd come back and bring more people, and I just want to thank you all for giving Ms. Jessica Shelley your ear last month and for taking extra time out of your board meeting to listen to the folks who are here today. I don't have too much to say, but I know there are several people who are here today in groups and schools that are here, and I'm just going to list off everybody who's here, and just so that they can be recognized. And one thing that might do is maybe they won't come up and speak. So we can work together here on this. Because they might not want to speak, and maybe you don't want to hear the same thing over and over again all night. The basic idea for good food purchasing is you bring the community to the table, and we can all get more and do more with our public dollars. So there are lots of folks here who support it. They're all wearing our orange bands, and I'm going to call out the roster of groups that are here tonight, and then I'll just wish you all a good night. So Clark Montessori LSDMC, parents of Parker Woods students and parents, Walnut Hills students and parents, Gamble students and parents, Cincinnatus Club, Ohio Farmers Union, Miami Valley Chapter, Mass Action for Black Liberation, Sierra Club, Miami Group, Women's City Club, Our Harvest Cooperative, AFL-CIO Labor Council, United Food and Commercial Workers Local 75, Young Public Interest Fellows, the ASPCA, the Cincinnati Interfaith Worker Center, Transformation CDC, Slow Food Cincinnati, the Regional Food Policy Council, Faith and Community Alliance of Greater Cincinnati, KHI Foods, Ohio Policy Matters, UC Student Leaders of Environmental Awareness and Protection, Indivisible College Hill, Xavier Students for Good Food, the Cincinnati Health Department Nurses, Soup Cycle, Cincinnati Educational Justice Coalition, Venice on Vine, Peasley Neighborhood Center, the Laborers Union, the Cook and Logothetis Law Firm, and I think I saw somebody from the Teachers Union here. Thank you for your support. See you guys. We're here for you. We're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Yes, come on up.
Hi, I'm Michelle Young, and I'm so honored to come after Brennan Grayson, who has made possible what I think will be one of the great changes in the life of the city and students that will be with us for decades to come. I am speaking on behalf of Cincinnatius Association, which is so proud, Cincinnatius, which after almost 100 years, I think this will be one of our crowning achievements to be part of this extraordinary coalition, which will usher in a new era of transparent, value-based purchasing of food that will allow our children to eat healthy, allow you and the taxpayers to be in charge of our purchases, and usher in a new era of food-to-table dining, food-to-table purchasing, minority and woman ownership of the businesses and farms that serve us, and will bring a better era that we could not imagine possible in our area for children, parents, and all. I'd like to thank Michaela Oldfield and Brennan for their extraordinary leadership, and the young fellows, public interest fellows, for tirelessly working on this too. Thank you. And you all for caring and listening and hopefully voting for us. I am so grateful. For once, I feel I've taken part in something great and good and noble, which is such a beautiful feeling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas noches.
Hello, good evening.
Soy Marley Monsalve.
I am Marley Monsalve.
Y soy miembro del Centro de Trabajadores de Cincinnati.
And I am a member of the Cincinnati Interfaith Worker Center.
Me pareció muy importante poder participar esta noche con un comentario que
Sorry.
Sí, go ahead.
It was very important to me to participate tonight with a comment
acerca de una experiencia que tuve
about an experience that happened to me.
Y teniendo en mi poder, en mis manos, información verídica sobre cifras que nos muestran cuánto se gasta o cuánto se compra o se vende en las escuelas con compañías que de repente no corrigen errores basados en el buen trato, en el trato justo y considerado con los empleados.
And I have here information in my hands, numbers about the amount of money that is spent on companies, that is given to companies that make these kinds of mistakes and have violations that have not corrected them, that do not correct them, about how they treat their workers, about how they treat their workers, mistreat their workers.
Por nombrar algunas,
To mention a few,
Dean Foods, Del Monte, DNO Inc., Club Chef, entre otras.
Amongst others.
Puedo hablar sobre mi propia experiencia en Schwan Company.
And I can speak to my personal experience at Schwan Company.
Tuve que someterme a cirugía de manos.
I had to get surgery on my hands.
Por negligencia en el tiempo y en desempeñarme en una posición por largo tiempo, habiendo comentado a mi supervisor.
Because of negligence, I was working in the same position for a very long time, and I had told my supervisor about it.
Y bueno, tenemos unas cifras que seguro ustedes ya conocen.
And I have here some numbers that I think you already are aware of.
Quejas o errores de
16 violations.
Multas por $190,000.
$190,000 in fines.
Algo más. Y pagado en un total o comprado $224,712.
And what was bought in the value from the schools in the value of $224,712.95.
Bueno, queda consideración realmente. Yo sí quisiera que se hagan cambios o se ponga un poco se haga más énfasis en las leyes que manejan estas compañías en cuanto a los empleados.
And so I think that we need to really consider the different policies and laws that we have about what these companies are allowed to do and how we interact with them.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next three speakers, Paul Breidenbach, Arthur Sprague, Manuel Perez.
I'll be brief, but I've had to compress this, so I'll read a lot of it. But I'm Paul Breidenbach, speaking on behalf of the Cincinnati AFL-CIO Labor Council. The Labor Council, as you know, has unions that represent some 30,000 workers in the area and aspire to represent the rest. The Labor Council is excited that CPS is taking the important step of officially adopting the GFPP by systematically taking into account the community benefit principles of the GFPP in food purchasing. CPS will, despite Mark Twain's famous libel, again be on the cutting edge of humane school reform, just as it is with its innovative community learning center model, sooner or later to be adopted by the rest of the country, and potentially can be with Preschool Promise. We congratulate the board in advance and look forward to the wide-ranging community benefits of this program and to pitching in its implementation with the rest of these community groups represented here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Sprague. Before I get started, I just wanted to voice my support for our first speaker in what she said about privatizing public schooling, especially in elementary schools. Sorry. I am a student at Walnut Hills High School. Every day I ride a crowded bus with probably more than 30 Walnut Hills kids and maybe 2 or 3 students from Purcell Marian Catholic. For the past couple weeks, the Purcell kids have been saying things to the effect of, y'all lit in the morning, but coming home, it's like you're dead. And it's true. Everyone, roughly 30 or sometimes more kids, everyone is quiet. People talk quietly to their friends or ask if anybody has food, but that's it. We're hungry. School lunches are barely enough calories and definitely don't have the necessary nutrition. Food that's available in vending machines is expensive junk. I'm hungry right after I eat, let alone when I get home from school, which causes binge eating as soon as I get home. This measure will benefit the students of CPS. I implore you to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, honorables miembros y miembros del Consejo de Escuelas de Cincinnati y personas que me escuchan.
Good evening, honorable members of the Cincinnati Public Schools School Board and all of the people who are listening right now.
Mi nombre es Manuel Pérez, soy un inmigrante guatemalteco viviendo por 13 años en la ciudad de Cincinnati, además miembro y staff del Centro de Trabajadores de Cincinnati.
My name is Manuel Perez. I am a Guatemalan resident of Cincinnati for the past 13 years. I am also a member and a staff member of the Cincinnati Interfaith Worker Center.
El motivo de mi presencia esta noche y de nuestra presencia esta noche es pedirles a ustedes que aprueben el acuerdo de GFPP para compra de buenos alimentos en nuestras escuelas públicas en Cincinnati.
My motivation for being here tonight is to ask you to support us in approving the Good Food Purchasing Program for the Cincinnati Public Schools.
Hay muchas razones, pero voy a mencionar algunas. Una de ellas es un programa muy bueno, es un programa integral que está basado en 5 valores. Muchas veces se buscan soluciones, pero no se buscan soluciones integrales, y esta es una de ellas, una solución integral.
There are many reasons to support, and the first one is that this is an integral solution. There are so many problems that we try to find answers to, so many solutions that are not integral, but this one is integral or holistic.
Y bueno, voy a mencionar algunos ejemplos. Se ha hablado mucho de nutrición. Desafortunadamente sabemos que para muchos miembros en nuestras comunidades son personas de bajos salarios, y para sus familias o sus hijos en estos casos el único lugar para tener acceso a buena comida son las escuelas.
There are many examples. I will mention a few. For example, with nutrition, when it comes to nutrition, we know that many of the members of our community are low-wage workers, low-income families, for whom one of the only sources of good nutrition on the daily is in the schools.
Además de eso, también nos llamó mucho la atención el ejemplo de Marley. A mí en lo personal no me gusta que personas de mi comunidad y de comunidad en general y como inmigrante los accidentes que hay en el trabajo, porque muchas veces en estos lugares se exige demasiado al trabajador y es por eso los accidentes.
I also want to call attention back to the example of our sister Mali, who was sharing earlier about the workplace safety. We know that a lot of these places are very exigent of their workers, that they require a lot of their workers, too much of their workers, and I don't like it when members of my community or of any community at large, when members of the immigrant community, for example, become victims of these accidents at the workplace because of negligence.
Aunque acá en Cincinnati no ejerzo mi profesión como educador, pero es algo que está en mi corazón, quiero mencionarles que en mi experiencia en el país, muchas veces las niñas y niños, el único lugar donde tienen acceso a buena comida son las escuelas.
And for me, my profession, even though I do not exercise my profession here as a teacher here in Cincinnati, it is something that is very close to my heart. And I just want to share with you that in my experience as well, in my country, for a lot of these kids, for a lot of these young people, the only access to good, nutritious food is the school system.
Y bueno, para terminar, solo quiero motivarles nuevamente a aprobar esta resolución por compra de buena comida y decirles también, como educadores, educamos con el ejemplo y qué bueno sería que las escuelas públicas de Cincinnati aprueben un programa como esto, porque es algo de lo que nos vamos a sentir orgullosos de compartir con nuestras niñas y niños en las escuelas.
And so to close, I want to finish by urging you again to pass this program, and to also close on the note that as educators, what we do is we lead by example, we educate by example, and imagine what kind of example that we would be setting and the excitement that we can share that with our kids for us to take this step and be a leader by accepting or passing the good food purchasing program.
Gracias y muy buena noche.
Thank you. Have a very good night.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Abby Stidham, Ali Trianfo, Marlena Brookfield.
Hi, my name's Abby Stidham. I'm a student at UC. All I have to say is I encourage the school board to consider the real people that are affected or could be affected by this good food purchasing program. There are workers that we can set a new standard of dignity for, and there's kids that we can feed good, nutritious food that have to go home to a food desert, because in the end it all affects us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ali Trianfo, and I'm here on behalf of the Hamilton County Young Democrats in support of the Good Food Purchasing Program. As an organization dedicated to educating and empowering young people, we believe it is important that Cincinnati Public Schools model a responsible investment in how we source food by example of the GFPP. With the many benefits of the program, we applaud the GFPP for prioritizing an increase in local production, and this sourcing will lead to equitable economic growth and job creation. Secondly, in a world of misinformation, the GFPP increases access, transparency, and accountability in the food supply chain to strengthen labor and workers' rights, especially for workers of color, seasonal farmers, and immigrants. Finally, an emphasis on sustainability primes CPS students for the problems they will be solving in their careers as sustainable development becomes a focus in nearly every industry. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope to see the district lead Ohio schools in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marlena Brookfield, and I am a candidate for Cincinnati Public School Board this year. What I have to say to you tonight is that hunger and food insecurity are already known to be significant barriers to learning. Related, but perhaps less well known, is how poor nutrition affects a child's ability to learn. Poverty and poor nutrition are not strangers to each other. Oftentimes, the inexpensive choices of food are not the healthy ones, and when your eating habits are dictated by necessity to live, things like sugar content, calories per serving, grams of fat, or even reading a simple ingredient list, it's of less concern. For some of our students, as other people have said this evening, the meals that they get at school, breakfast and lunch, are the only meals they could count on in a day. So inasmuch as we as a district are entrusted with education, when we are able to provide our children with good, nutritious food, we're breaking down barriers to learning, promoting good health, and helping to end cycles of poverty. I support the Good Food Purchasing Program and look forward to its adoption by this board this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Sue Ellen Schweppe, Brian Gary, Robert Park.
Good evening. My name is Sue Ellen Shoup. For the past 20 years, producing good local food has been an abiding interest of mine. I've grown my own food and worked alongside farmers on several of our local farms, community gardens, and CSAs. Most recently, I've worked with the coalition on this project. I currently have a grandson attending Clark Montessori. Thank you, board, for daring to take the GFPP challenge, for allowing your staff to work with the coalition for the past 2.5 years to do the assessment and become ready for it. By joining the few other institutions in the country doing this work, you are contributing in a big way to the environmental sustainability of the bioregion in which the greater Cincinnati is the largest population center. You are also supporting aspects of our local economy, such as farmers that have been struggling in recent years. By increasing the demand for good food, you are enabling more farmers to care for the land properly and more workers to make a living that allows them to purchase the good food they're growing. Only when institutions like CPS begin to demand these foods will the local organic growers have the income to compete against the industrial farm system. Make no mistake, this vote is only the beginning of some more hard work, educating students, parents, teachers, farmers, distributors, and the public as to what the CPS is doing and why. But I commend you for having the courage to step up to the challenge.
Thank you.
All righty. I'm Brian Gary, and greetings to all of your eminences. Ozzy, my bodyguard in high school.
Love you, brother.
Back to 1977. But I guess first of all, I come representing the Faith Community Alliance. So the Faith Community Alliance is in the house. And, you know, I have to say, where have we ever seen a coalition this big and this broad representing our community? And I have to give kudos to all of you, and in particular, Brennan of the Worker Center. Yeah, I am just thoroughly impressed. And I'm furthermore impressed with you all because this issue is not new. We and you, we've all known about this issue for decades. In fact, in my memory, dating back to where Ronald Reagan tried to proclaim ketchup as a vegetable in school lunches. Do you remember that? So countless people have worked on this for many, many decades. And so I just want to give you a special kudos for coming forth and supporting this issue. I couldn't be more proud of you. So, yes. And I'll just second Michelle Dillingham's motion. Thank you, Michelle, for stopping the privatization of our preschools. But besides that, for all of the reasons that all of you have mentioned, I don't need to further enumerate them. but that is why the Faith Community Alliance was a very early endorser of this program. And so I respectfully ask you all to adopt this policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Robert Park. I'm a volunteer with the Miami group of the Ohio chapter of the Sierra Club, the largest membership environmental organization in the country. Also a federal employee in public health and a union member. The Sierra Club is very concerned about the future of our planet. I think most of us in this room share that concern. One of the big issues is how to transition agriculture away from the current chemically dependent system to a sustainable system, producing good food on a financially competitive basis with all the other values that are incorporated into this proposal. One of the things that's holding this back, as several people have mentioned, is that it's hard for farmers that are now growing soybeans and corn on chemicals to get into this new market when it's a tiny market, unpredictable market. Getting institutions to start to systematically create that market is a huge step forward. The Sierra Club is really excited about this movement across the country and the fact that here in Cincinnati, this board is exploring this option, and we strongly encourage you to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our last four speakers I'm going to call. Marjorie Mosberg or Mosley. Thank you. I'm sorry if I mispronounced. William Messer, Susan Noonan, and Julie Sellers.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm glad to be here, and I was glad to be asked to come. My name is Marjorie Mosley. I am a product of Cincinnati Public Schools. Even though I didn't graduate from Cincinnati Public Schools, my fundamentals came from Cincinnati Public Schools, and I will never forget that. I am a very proud member of UFCW, and I work at the local Kroger in Oakley. And I've worked in the food industry off and on for many, many years, servicing, cooking, preparing, even gone back to school to get my culinary degree. I am here to speak in favor of the good food and the purchasing and what that means to our community. You will never hear me use the word minority because I am not a minor player in this game. We need to make sure that Black folks are at the table and they are in the process of being able to be a part of this purchasing process. That needs to be said. I also want to say that I support the workers in the food chain, and they are often the most vulnerable of our workers, but we don't understand. They feed y'all. They provide you your food. They give you service, so we should not look at them as such. And I want you to also think about their wages. They don't need good wages. They need livable wages so that they can maintain their families, be a viable support in our communities, and be able to stay in the communities where they send their kids to school, where they have friends and neighbors, go to church, and do sports and all other things. So when we're doing this, we need to think about that and how it impacts us. We all must learn to live together and be supportive of one another. I want to thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
So I apologize. I rehearsed this for 3 minutes, but I'll dump a paragraph. My name is William Messer, no relation.
I'd like to emphasize the power of food by telling you about a high school in Wisconsin called Central Alternative School. It's a school of last resort for kids who had failed at other schools. It had problems. The kids weren't learning and the teachers were applying for early retirement. An armed officer patrolled the hallways. The administration was at its wit's end and willing to try almost anything with an elderly couple named the Stitz who owned a local natural food company offered a plan to revamp the school's food, and the school said, why not? Within days of implementing the new food program, the kids adjusted to it. By the second week, teachers were noticing a change. The students were more focused and actually interested in learning, and the teachers were enjoying teaching again. There was a calmness not found in other schools in the district. By the year's end, grades were up, and the teachers who had intended to retire early decided to stay on and keep teaching. They were enjoying teaching again, and the students were enjoying learning. The program lasted 5 years, and by the second year, a version of the food program was adopted district-wide. As chair of the Green Cincinnati Plan's Food Action Team, I'd known about this experiment, but always wondered to what extent this may have been, quote, fake news. So I looked up and phoned the school and spoke personally with its principal, Miss Luann Conan. She said not only was the news not fake, but told me, quote, every year I'm required by the state of Wisconsin to fill out forms detailing behavioral problems at the school, which had included dropouts, graffiti, vandalism, fights, expulsions, drug use, weapons brought to school, and suicide. But during the 5 years we implemented the food program, and mind you, the food was the only thing we changed, I was able to put zeros in every category every year. I tried to bring this program to Cincinnati as a pilot program at a school in Bond Hill, very like the one in Wisconsin. At literally the 11th hour, however, the Stitz instead went to Chicago to meet Bill and Melinda Gates on a project for Chicago schools and have since passed away. But not only was the food program better for the education and student and staff health, it was better for the planet's health. So I researched and wrote a healthier school foods recommendation to add to the Green Cincinnati Plan, which was passed unanimously by Council's Quality of Life Committee, only to be removed from the full Council's agenda the day they were to vote on it by the then strong mayor, whose name I won't mention. A large corporation has taken over providing food for that school district in Wisconsin, and although promising to maintain the integrity of the food program, they have not. Behavioral problems have returned. The school in Bond Hill has closed its door as well. I've moved on to other issues, just one more sentence, but always wished this program had been tried here, not just at troubled schools, but at schools which thought they were doing quite well, to see just how much better things could be simply by providing better food. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I apologize, it's the only shirt I could find in my closet that was orange. So, hello, this will be short and sweet. I am Short, and I am here representing from the boards of both two of the oldest civic organizations in the city, the Women's City Club, which will be 104 years old, and the Cincinnati Association, which will be 100 in 2020. So I am representing both of those organizations. We both totally support the Good Food Purchasing Program. I want to applaud all of you for letting it get this far, for listening, for being so attentive after all these speakers. I think it's wonderful that this is happening, and I just want you to know that everybody in this community, parents, grandparents, business people, professionals, old people like me, we really support this. Cincinnati was only the 8th city in the whole country to establish CDAW, which is eliminating discrimination against women. Cincinnati can be one of a couple of handfuls of cities to be the first to feed our kids healthy food. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to just take a couple of moments. I am very happy that you all are supporting the good food procurement policy, and I think it will be great for our kids. But I would also like to address the ineffective snow and ice removal at the CPS schools this year, contracts that I don't believe are being well managed to clear parking lots before teachers and students and parents are entering those schools. The parking lots are not always cleared appropriately prior to the opening of school, and it's creating a big mess during drop-off at many of the schools across the city. How the plant operators and custodians, they are not being permitted any overtime to come in early or come in the day prior to properly clear the walkways, steps and sidewalks. These must be cleared so that we are not having students, teachers, parents, vendors falling and having accidents, as what's been happening the last 2 weeks on Tuesdays. Students are having unsafe conditions walking up and down the steps outside of the buildings, and there have been many injuries that have been reported to me. We, CFT, has contract language that requires a safe entrance into school of ice and snow, and this year it has not been properly addressed. And I've heard that kids have broken wrists, they've broken elbows, there were vendors who broke their ankle, and it's something that could be fixed, and I know that the last 2 Mondays they would not let them come in after the snow, prior to when people entered the walkways to have it properly cleared. We have the contract language because in the past, prior to us having the language, there were accidents where people fell, hit their head, and passed away from a concussion, from different types of injuries. This is for to save the whole district money and to be fiscally responsible, but also to look out for those people who are entering our buildings across the city. Sometimes, as we all know, some parts of the cities have more snow than others, and so they might look at one school and say, oh, it's okay, but other schools might have 3, 4, 5 inches of snow. And the second thing that I would like to address is Kendra spoke at the last evening board meeting, and we talked about the change of the teacher evaluation policy, and I would just like to show appreciation to the Student Achievement Committee for their time and attention to our request concerning board policy 3220. We would like to follow with what the state law is going to do to remove the building attribution from teacher evaluations. We work very collaboratively with CPS administration to develop a proposal, but it has not come back to policy, and it has not been voted on by the board, and we would like to make sure that this is moving forward, and we would like to request that this policy goes back to the policy committee to be addressed and looked at. I have written a memo that in response to the request from the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers to forgo shared attribution beginning with the 18-19 evaluation cycle, CFT will agree to the following change in the CBA and with board policy 3220, that teachers, if we can get rid of the shared attribution, we would agree to choose who is the credentialed evaluator. HR and CFT would work collaboratively in any assignments that we might have concerns about objectivity. So we are asking that this be placed on the policy committee's next agenda for further discussion. Implementation of this agreement is contingent upon the full board's approval during the February 11th, 2019 meeting, and that these recommendations call for changes in our collective bargaining agreement, which would require approval by CFT. But this policy, we worked really hard on it for many, many months, and it's disappeared but we wanted to move forward, and I'm not sure with the changes of personnel in HR or the changes from it going from student achievement to policy with the changes of board members on those committees, somehow this policy has gotten lost, and we just want to make sure that it moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to take an opportunity. Sometimes when we have large audiences, I think it's great to explain. If you might notice that Ms. Sellers went beyond the 3 minutes, but as president of our CFT, we have a contractual agreement to waive the 3 minutes for her. So we didn't want you to think we were showing preference over her, but in one way, she does get preference by contract. So. Okay, so let's move forward. We have a number of resolutions, and we're going to address those as quickly as we can. Mr. Davis, you have the first 4 resolutions, so we'll start with you.
Give me 1 second. I might be able to do this without this light. I got the thing, so I just need some light. There we go. Here we go. Resolution amending board policy 5500, student conduct. I present the resolution as written for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Mr. Davis.
Resolution policy 5510, student identification, a resolution to amend board policy. I present the resolution as written.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, I present the policy as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Ms. Wagner?
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Mr. Davis.
A resolution amending board policy 5511, dress and grooming. I present the policy as written for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Mr. Davis.
A resolution amending board policy 5513, students' care of school property. I present the policy as written for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Okay, Ms. Bates, you have the next 3.
Yes, and the first one is a resolution amending board policy 5515, use of motor vehicles. I move this this policy as printed.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Ms. Bates.
A resolution amending board policy 6520, payroll deductions. I move this resolution amending board policy as printed.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Ms. Bates.
And a resolution amending board policy 6600, deposit of public funds. I move this resolution amending board policy as printed.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wagner.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Mr. Morosky. Please present the following resolution.
Thank you, President Jones. I would like to present a resolution to adopt the good food purchasing policy. I will present it as written, but there are a few things I would like to call out since there's been so much discussion about this, and for the folks watching at home. I won't read the entire thing, but I do want to read a few of the things. Whereas Cincinnati Public Schools is recognized as a leader in developing best practices and promoting healthy school nutrition and its important connection to learning, and whereas CPS's purchasing department continually strives to incorporate innovative procurement practices, whereas in participating in the Good Food Purchasing Program, CPS will help support a regional food system that is ecologically sound, economically viable, and socially responsible, whereas good food values prioritize nutrition, affordability, geography, and sustainable production practices, including sound environmental practices, fair prices for producers, safe and fair working conditions for employees, and humane conditions for animals. Therefore, be it resolved that Cincinnati Public Schools embrace the Good Food Purchasing Program as a strategy to help improve our region's food system through adoption and implementation of the Good Food Purchasing Standards, which emphasize the following values: 1, local economies; 2, environmental sustainability; 3, valued workforce, protecting workers' rights to freedom of association, to organize a union, and to collectively bargain in order to better ensure safe and healthy working conditions and fair compensation for all food chain workers; to ensure farmers a fair price for their products that covers the cost of production and fair remuneration for their management and labor; 4, animal welfare; and 5, nutrition, to promote health and well-being for our students. I present the resolution as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to say something. I'd like to say something.
Okay, Mr. Morosky, followed by Mr. Davis.
I would just like to thank everybody again. When I gave kudos, I said I was going to say a little more later. One of the great honors of my first year on the board has been working with most of the people that are in this auditorium tonight. There are champions on this board who are not here tonight, like Ms. Copeland Dansby. I believe everybody who ran for school board in 2017, for the most part, maybe a couple people didn't, but signed off in supporting good food. It's been a true pleasure to learn from all of you and to sit in conversations to learn how we can do this the right way. It's been a true pleasure to get to know Jessica Shelley, our Director of Food Services, better, and the whole team within CPS. I attribute really this whole process in a lot of ways to sort of learning professionally in elected capacity my way around how to do something really important and powerful, and how to use purchasing power to do something really, really good for kids. And by doing good things for kids, in my opinion, I don't think I have any Pollyanna left in me. I think most of that's kind of been beaten out my life, but I do believe that if you keep your eye focused on kids and try to do good things for them, you can do good for everybody in the end. So in closing, if you'll bear with me, and then I will be finished. I wrote down some things, and I'm going to screw it up, so I apologize ahead of time. Yo fui en Guatemala por mucho tiempo, so yo hablo un poco español. So intentaré esto correctamente. Gracias a todos nuestros hermosos y hermanos y hermanas que hablan español por su apoyo y por todo su arduo trabajo para hacer que Estados Unidos sea mejor. Gracias.
What did you say?
Okay.
You gotta translate that, Mike.
I said I spent some time in Guatemala, and I speak a little Spanish, and I just thanked our brothers and sisters who speak Spanish for all of their support and for all of their work trying to make the United States a little better than we are.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
I want to ditto what Member Morowski said about the coalition. I've learned so much in my 7 months on the school board about the Good Food Purchasing Program, from the coalition, from their work with Jessica Shelley. And I want to echo the words of Brian Gary. There's not often a coalition of this might for any subject matter, and your commitment to the children of our district is commendable, and I want you to know that it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bates.
Yes, and this is a first step You know, it's a formality of the board to say, yay, we're going to go ahead and do this. But during the assignments, this has to be made an assignment back to policy, because this is not a policy, this is a resolution, and a policy has to be developed. So I'm sure one of us will be very willing to make that assignment at the end of the meeting.
I believe Ms. Shelley already is bringing a policy back to policy. I think that was indicated in the policy minutes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And just as a formality, we need the assignment, so the board says, go and do it.
Okay, so you can make that assignment when we get to the assignments. Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I just want to say also, on behalf of my little ones and all the other 36,000 CPS kids, thank you to all of you who have given your time and energy for them, but also for the workforce. I was a United Food Commercial Worker union member myself when I was 17 in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, working at the Kroger. But I also grew up on a small farm in a small town that's about an hour from here. And everybody were small farmers raising hogs and cattle and just about every other piece of livestock. And just in my lifetime, most of them have gone out of business, and they can't compete with these much larger entities that treat their workers like crap. They treat their animals like crap, and they produce food that is crap. Pardon my French. But I just think this is one of the most exciting things. And I remember Brandon, he pulled me aside at the Labor Day picnic, and I think it was an American moment that Alicia Reese was giving her great speech and getting everybody fired up, and I'm signing off on the contract there to support. And I just want to thank everyone in this audience for doing what you did to bring this to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, Superintendent Mitchell, do you have a report?
I do. I have a very brief report. First of all, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. Last week, we experienced losing one of our dear staff members. Dolores Washington was a paraprofessional, and she was working at Ada our alternative to suspension and expulsion site, where she passed away at her desk. And so if we could just have a moment of silence for her and to really thank her family for all the time that they allowed her to dedicate to the children of Cincinnati Public Schools.
Thank you. A moment of silence, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to highlight a couple of exciting things. Last week was Public Education Week, and you can see by the wonderful pictures that many of our staff members really celebrated this week. Also like to thank and acknowledge Cincinnati Federation of Teachers. They joined us in the celebration and did a lot of social media campaigning, which we really appreciated. So thank you to President Sellers for that. The board did pass a resolution earlier in January, as well as CFT, acknowledging Public Education Week. Next, I would like to highlight there was a Student Athlete Leadership Team Conference. So we have a lot of leadership programs for many of our kids, but we really did not have anything for student leadership. And so a couple of years ago, under the direction of Assistant Superintendent Bill Miles, we started a leadership program for athletes. So Josh Harden, who is our athletic manager, along with board member Ozzie Davis, attended a conference with about 80 scholars from 14 different high schools. These students were joined by some prestigious members of the community while they attended breakout sessions. And one of the breakout sessions really focused on community give back and a project around community give back. So the young people had an opportunity to explore some ideas and then vote on a community give back program or project. They explored ideas such as homelessness as well as supporting our elementary students. And that actually was the project that won the vote. And so they will be working to develop a mentorship program for our elementary students that will be culminating in an activity at the Reds Youth Academy. So we're very excited and very proud of our young athletes. Next, speaking of athletes, I also like to highlight that Cincinnati Bengals players helped John P. Parker Schools celebrate a renewed commitment to health and fitness and exercise. This is all sponsored by the American Dairy Association and Fuel Up to Play 60. As a result of receiving these funds and grant, the school will receive a brand new refrigerator, a rock climbing wall. Dan Hoying, don't pass out over that. We'll make sure we have all the legality things in place as well as insurance, and also a lot of physical exercise activities that are currently not offered at the school. So we're very excited about that. FC Cincinnati football player Omar Cummings also recently visited the school to support the FC Cincinnati and Kings Hammer football program to try to solicit interest of our kids in soccer and physical fitness. And so we were just like on a tangent with sports tonight. So I end the presentation with our wonderful Stargle Stadium groundbreaking. So we were joined, it was very exciting last week on a rainy, cold day. Thank goodness someone planned that the groundbreaking would be indoors. But President Carolyn Jones was there, accompanied by Eve Bolton, as well as Erica Copeland Dansby, as well as Jeff Birding from FC Cincinnati. So this was hosted at the basketball court at Taft High School. We also had Hayes Porter's children that were there for this wonderful event. In addition to community members being there and staff as well as the board members, we were also joined by 3 of the children of the coach Willard Stargle, and his grandson also attended the groundbreaking. So we were very excited about this, and Facilities has guaranteed us that we will be ready for football season in the fall. So we're very excited about this. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the revised recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Davis?
Just a little.
Yes. Mr. Davis?
I take it back.
You sure?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sure. I don't need to bemoan the point of, Mr. Stargell and how to pronounce his name. And he was a coach of mine.
Yeah.
And I went to school with his sons, and I don't need to do all that. But I was sorry to have to miss the presentation, and very excited about the future of Stargell Stadium.
Thank you. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion?
I'm sorry, missed who was seconded? Thank you.
Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye on everything except Roman numeral 8, and that's no.
Good for you,
Thank you.
Bates.
Mr. Davis?
I did have some discussion, Madam Chair.
Okay,
I raised my hand, but I think
I didn't. Okay.
you're looking that way. But I think I can resolve my concerns another way, and I can vote yes for this. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Borowski?
Aye.
President Jones?
Aye. Do we have any inquiries or updates tonight? Okay, hearing none. Assignments? Ms. Bates?
Yes, and Mr. Davis pointed this out to me. We adopted the good food purchasing policy in the title, but that's not really what we did because there is no policy. Yet. So it really should say program. So what my assignment is to refer the policy development to the policy committee.
Thank you.
It's indicated in the policy committee that Ms. Shelley will be bringing the draft policy back to policy on the 21st of February.
Okay,
On page 3 of the policy minutes.
gotcha. Thank you. Other assignments? Mr. Morosky?
So following up on Ms. Sellers' testimony about policy 3220, I thought we had, and I'm just going to ask Member Davis, I think, for clarification, because I thought we had, when I was on policy, we kicked it out of student achievement back to, did we?
Yes, Mr. Morosky. Can we have Mr. McDowell come and share what happened? Because after we came to that agreement, there was something that happened between the state and the agreement that the district and CFT
Appreciate
reached.
it, yeah, because I won't make the assignment if it's already still in the works.
Good evening, board members. I'd be glad to try to address that, Board Member Messer. We did have as Julie indicated before, we did work extremely collaboratively to come up with a solution. We actually had 2 items that we proposed to CFT in relation to doing away with the shared attribution. We thought we had an agreement. The night before Student Achievement Committee, I was informed by CFT that they could not adopt the one portion of the agreement that we had. I responded back to Ms. Sellers at that point in time, stating to her via email that at this point that would not be acceptable to administration, so therefore did not move forward to Student Achievement Committee.
So I think the answer to the question is it's still in deliberation?
Well, our response was Ms. Sellers presented to you tonight one of the 2 things that we discussed. There was an agreement on the second. So at this point in time, the communication that I provided to Ms. Sellers was the administration was not satisfied with that. If it's the board's direction, there would like to be further discussions, I'm glad to do that.
Okay, Mr. Davis.
So do you think that, because Ms. Sellers asked for that to be brought to policy, do you think that needs to be brought back to student achievement?
We didn't have an opportunity to take it to student achievement because what we thought was agreed upon was not. If the board would like it to go to policy, that's fine. I'm glad to continue the discussion. I did not receive a response back after we told Ms. Sellers that that wasn't acceptable to us.
Mr. Morosky.
So I think my assignment then will be then to HR to continue the conversations with Ms. Sellers, because I was so excited after a year talking about shared attribution. I think we all were. We got to a certain point. So my assignment then, thank you for bringing up Mr. McDowell. Thank you, Mr. McDowell, for the clarification. Totally makes sense.
Yes.
So I guess my assignment then will just be you to continue working with Ms. Sellers to figure it out. And then I think if, I don't want to get too bold, but if an agreement or it can be resolved before the next policy committee, I don't know if it needs to come back to student achievement, if it could just go straight to policy. But for now, I'll just leave my assignment at continuing the conversation.
I believe the original intention was to go to student achievement committee, then to policy. I believe what we're discussing is a change to policy. So Dan, I'm assuming if there's agreed upon change to policy, you could just go to policy committee.
Right.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we need to talk about it in student achievement again.
Understood. I think we can agree.
All right.
And we're glad to take that assignment. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. We got that. Oh, Mr. Davis, you understood? Okay.
Okay, yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Any other assignments? Okay, having no other business before us, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Ali.
Thank you, sweetie.